Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Nama Budaya. Hello everyone, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Aliya from ALSA Local Chapter, Universitas Indonesia, and with this opportunity, I'll take a deliberate speech between the correlation between COVID-19 and also its impact towards the rights to pursue education. I genuinely hope that with this speech, I am able to raise the awareness about what's currently going on in the study school. That's all from me. I hope you enjoy my speech, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allow me to start my speech by asking several questions. Have you ever been put in such an extreme condition, whereas you thought everything was normal, everything you needed was there, and suddenly there's a massive change that created huge impacts towards your life? I'm pretty sure that most of us are currently dealing with this condition due to the global pandemic COVID-19. But have you ever been put in a condition whereas you have your rights violated or even unfulfilled, including the right to pursue education due to the global pandemic? Nelson Mandela once said on how education is the only way for us to change the world. Other people tend to say that education is the passport for our future and that education is the key for us to open a golden door of freedom. Regardless of the wording, regardless of the framing, it is more than clear that education is highly important and highly beneficial for every individual in the whole wide world. But here's another question. Do you think, knowing the fact that we are now living in a global pandemic, wrecking our life, wrecking our economy, or even our health, education is still accessible until this point? Greetings, my name is Aliya from Universitas Indonesia, and I believe that education should always be accessible for everyone, regardless of the condition. Yes, I am fully aware that this is such a hard goal and needs further effort, but I am fully aware with the fact that education is important, and hence everyone deserves the same opportunity to gain education. I believe that every effort matters, and I believe that education must always be accessible for everyone. In this speech, I'm going to talk about three things. First, the correlation between COVID-19 and education. Second, the right to pursue education. And last but not least, the importance of cutting tuition fee in order to ensure the rights of the people in pursuing education. Now let's talk about education. What is the definition of education and why is it highly important? Education is known as a process or a platform for you to improve your knowledge, skill, values, or even belief. Education provides several benefits, for example, career preparation, or even your personal development. Education is also known as a platform for you to gain your passion and learn more about your passion. With education, you gain several things such as a better critical thinking, better public speaking, better networking, and a lot more. Education also provides several practical benefits such as the high probability of having a better future and also a high probability to make wiser and healthier choices in life. Now, after understanding what education is, let's talk about the right to pursue education. The right to pursue education is stated on the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and also on Article 31, Number 1 on the 1945 Constitution of the Republic of Indonesia that clearly states on the importance of education that every single individual in Indonesia must pursue education and the government have the obligation to provide it. Now, after understanding the fact that there are written constitutions, written laws in regards towards the importance of education, we can say that it is still hard to ensure that everyone have the platform or have the accessibility to pursue education. For instance, until this point, it is known that almost 4.3 million students in Indonesia are considered as a dropout. Even before the COVID-19 pandemic, it is very hard to ensure the rights of the people to pursue education. But what about in COVID-19? Ever since COVID-19, a lot of changes have been made. For example, a number of 3.5 million workers have been fired from their companies or even businesses because of the loss due to COVID-19. Hence, this has a huge impact towards education. I will demonstrate it to you by stating about tuition fee. Ever since COVID-19, universities have not decided to decrease the amount of tuition fee for students, even understanding the fact that the economic status of the students have changed because of COVID-19. Now, this is unfair for them because they no longer have the right to pursue education, they no longer can pursue their dream, pursue their passions due to the limitations
of COVID-19. A lot of changes had been made. For example, we have shifted from offline school to online school that demands a lot of individual facilities, such as computers or even a stable connection. Those two things requires a lot of high cost and high maintenance. Now, let's look at the side of these students. What will you do when you know that you have limited money and the tuition fee is still expensive and the facilities are so expensive as well? And you have other obligations or other priorities, such as making sure that your family can survive or ensuring that your family have enough food to live. See, this is unfair. Education becomes a sacrifice for them in order to survive in this world. Now let's take a look at other example on why it is very important to decrease the amount of the tuition fee. Understand the fact that ever since COVID-19, a lot of changes have been made. For example, back when we were doing offline school, we had a lot of facilities. For example, access towards the library or even clear class or a lot of facilities. But ever since online school, we cannot deny the fact that the facilities we get from the universities have decreased. So, it is very important to decrease the amount of tuition fee, as there are two main reasonings. Number one, for the accessibility of the students. For example, those students that no longer have the economic capacity to even pay. Or number two, so that it will be fair for students as they don't receive as much as facilities as they used to before. Now, what is the importance of education? And what happens if these students become dropouts and have no longer access towards education? We need to understand two scenarios. Number one, they no longer have the platform to increase their personal self-development or even their ability to pursue their passion. It is safe to say that they no longer have the competitive advantage to survive in this role. When you don't have a competitive advantage, it's going to be very hard for you to survive in the competition in the real world. The moment they lose, they no longer have any career. And the moment they don't have any career, we are moving on to the second scenario, which leads them to unemployment. The moment they are in unemployment, it means that they are in poverty or they have no longer access to provide their basic needs. This becomes a problem for not only those individuals but also us as a nation. Hence, it is very important to prevent or to ensure that everyone has the access towards education, especially in our country. Imagine about what these students are feeling. They never thought that they will be put in this condition. They never thought that they will be put in this situation. But all they gotta do, or the only thing they can do, is face the reality. Obviously, they want to make a lot of changes. They want to make their life feel better. They want to ensure that in the future, they won't have the same problem for their families. But how are they going to do it if we don't provide them education at the very first place, or if education is not accessible at the very first place? It is not that we are going to make this tuition fee free, but we are only decreasing the tuition fee, and that's the most that we can do, and is also beneficial for them. So, what are we waiting for? Let's make sure that education is always accessible for everyone by cutting these tuition fees. Nelson Mandela once also stated on how it is not beyond the man's power to ensure that everyone have access towards good education. Hence, it is still possible to reach our goal to ensure that every single individual, every kid in Indonesia have access towards education. All we need to do is show our effort, and we can start by cutting those tuition fees. I'm Aliya, and I believe in the importance of education.